Hi, welcome to Crash Course 2014. This is our 25th year. 25 years ago, we started this program out with approximately 60 students, 20 cars. Today, we're up to 200 students, 220 cars, a staff of 80. 3 days long this year. We added a third day for EMS. I knew we were doing things right when I had a fire chief come up to me and say, Todd, we ran up on a scene. It was just like the scenario you had. Our guys pulled up. They all said one thing, crash course. They went into the extrication. Took them less than 15 minutes to do an underride to cut a victim out. To me, that's incredible. We've done our job. I'm going to turn this over to Kurt Schoenfeld. He's going to explain a little bit more.
Okay, thanks, Todd. You know, here we are again at 25 years of Crash Course here at Calamityville in Fairborn, Ohio. You know, we've changed it up a little bit from years past. You have asked for some EMS. So at 25 years, you know what we did? We've added some EMS. So what we're going to try to focus on this year in our social media outlets is we're going to actually take you into each individual of the 10 pits. Our Minute in the Pit segments are going to take you in and show you exactly what happens in each of the pits. So keep in mind to follow us on all of your social media outlets. And if you are not fortunate enough to be here this year, get signed up next year. You're really missing a great training opportunity. And remember, the focus of Crash Course really is to teach you and train you to save lives. We hope to see you in 2015.
Today we're working on advanced stabilization. What we're doing here is teaching how to stabilize vehicles that are not your normal just car hitting another car. We're up on jersey barriers, telephone poles, different things like that would help stabilize cars.
Very helpful on stabilizing the vehicles versus, you know, you got one on the pole. Of course, the one on the side over here was real interesting. I mean, I've been on situations where you got a car teeter-tottering on its side and can't get anybody out until you stabilize it. So far, this first course I've been on, it's learned a lot of stuff.
Pit number 2 is an underride scenario, and what we do here is we try to set up a very difficult scenario, something maybe they haven't seen before. If you look at it the way it's set up, it really wouldn't be that difficult of a scenario if you just looked at it, but what we do here is we restrict their access to the victim. We don't allow them to go through the side, we don't allow them to go through the roof. We're forcing them to start at the trunk, work their way through the back, and then extricate the victim out through the back. Basically, you have two options on a run like this. You have the option of stabilizing in place and doing the extrication underneath, or they have the option of lifting with big wrecker or airbag, something like that, and winching the car out and doing the extrication away.
It's definitely something that we don't see common, if you will, out on the fire ground, but it's definitely something that we want to keep in the back of our toolbox and everything else. And just kind of the tricks of the trade and whatnot, and especially with the stabilization of the trailer and or the tractor itself. And also the dash displacement, where you got no room to actually do any type of dash displacement other than from center on. Just absolutely phenomenal training, insight from the instructors and everything on how to actually do a tunneling, extrication and whatnot with it. So thumbs up all around.
Pit number 3 entails putting a vehicle in an awkward position that's constantly ever changing to stress the environment that the rescuers are working in. More real life based than sitting a car on its 4 wheels. It's constant, the evolution itself changes depending upon what they've done. It makes them think, it means keep them engaged constantly, thinking about what's next. It's no different than a fire scene and what we're exposed to there. Starts now, it ends when the last victim's out and we've left the scene. So for us, this pit best exemplifies the ability to tax the rescuer's mind and his skills.
It's been good so far, good instruction. We're getting the process of stabilizing the vehicle. We have 2 groups working, one on the front passenger side, one on the back driver side, and we're basically working in tandem. When the one group works, we're stopping. They had it stabilized, we stabilized our side, and now we're going to work trying to gain access to the patient area.
We're simulating, this is an overturned vehicle to where we have essentially no access to one side of the vehicle, heavy roof intrusion, and we're trying to create a big hole. And basically what we do is we're cutting the floor pan, utilizing multiple tools, sawzall, air chisel, hydraulics, and so on. We make cuts to the midpoint of the vehicle, and at that point we have assist with ratchet straps or come-alongs to remove the floor pan to create a big hole.
Pit that I just left, we were removing the floorboard of the vehicle, which personally I've never done before. It was a great experience. We needed to get into the floor. They showed us several different methods to remove the floorboard with an air chisel, a sawzall, and the O-cutters, and we were able to do that with little direction. It's not a scenario I see very often. That's why I came to this class, to see different scenarios. I understand that that could happen tomorrow, so I want to know how to do it today.
Pit 5 is a new station for crash course. It's the vehicle into a building, a fairly common occurrence, and we are here teaching mitigation techniques for that, how to shore up the building, lifting considerations for a victim trapped under the car, and how to safely and swiftly execute this very important and fairly common event.
I think it's a really cool station, or pit. Obviously it's a real life scenario. Me personally, being only a couple years into the fire service, it's very good or useful information. Obviously with something like this, you have a lot of willing guys, a lot of willing instructors that are willing to pass on their knowledge and things like that. That's very, very nice. I'm definitely glad I could come out this weekend and learn about this stuff that I may encounter on a day-to-day basis.
Pit 6 is a vehicle on its side with limited access to the patients. And what we have the students do is come in and think outside the box a little bit and have to clamshell the front end of the vehicle around to gain access to the patients that might be in the front or the back seat.
Can happen a lot out in the real world. The vehicle on its side with limited access, basically clamshelling, opening it up so we can get full access into the compartment cab. I've learned a lot so far, and I think it's going to be a great station for everybody to utilize.
What we're doing is we're dividing up into patient access, gaining access, patient mobilization, and transport to the hospital for definitive care in the least amount of time and considering the safety factors, working safe. Our goal is to get the patient packaged and out of the vehicle in 10 minutes or less. That's our goal. Platinum 10.
Pit 7's great, this whole class is great. We learned different techniques on how to access the patient in Pit 7. Basically, it's a minor head-on collision in this scenario with patient removal. All the techniques we've learned so far today is everyday scenarios that we run into day to day on the job.
Pit number 8, we're going over some new vehicle construction stuff, and specifically hybrid and CNG. There's been a lot of changes out there, a lot of new CNG vehicles, so we kind of got a company locally to give us a couple commercial vehicles so we could go through those and get students familiar with those. Boss has always been great with us with the hybrids. We got a couple more hybrids out here to go through all the setup procedures with those, how to take care of the high voltage systems, how to make the vehicle safe for us to actually do our operations.
I find it very helpful because we're dealing with hybrids and CNG. We're getting to know about hybrids. The problem is we don't think coherently. You arrive on a scene and you have to act instinctively. This has been very helpful because it helps us stop and think step by step how to disable a hybrid and therefore make it a safe environment in which we can do our rescue work. These vehicles are now built with high-strength steel. They present a little more of a challenge in the rescue phase if you're cutting through a car. Instead of reading about it or seeing a video, it just helps us, it helps things fall into place. And so this was extremely helpful.
Well, very simply put, what we're doing here in the new techniques and displacement for pit number 9 for the students is we're trying to add a couple of different tricks for their toolbox, if you will, back home. Our goal is to train these guys to go home and train their fellow firefighters back at home. So what we're going to do is we're going to show them a couple of different techniques. We're going to go over a cold weather lift, a Dade County, pull, a two-door rip and blitz, some roof removal, leaving the roof intact, and a couple of other different kind of new techniques.
How to remove a roof without actually removing it completely. That was pretty fun. How to utilize your resources better instead of just cribbing and going, actually having to utilize things the right way. Every pit that I've been in today so far is a lot of hands-on. I like a lot of hands-on instead of a lot of talking. So it's probably the best extrication class that I've attended.
Pit 10 is a cross-ramming station. We teach the students to use their spreaders and rams to displace the vehicle, using the strength of the vehicle itself to displace the vehicle to create a working space for the patient to survive.
It's a displacement for compartment. It's where you would have a tree is on one side and the vehicle is crushed on the other side. You don't have a lot of access inside the compartment, and we're just spreading it open to make it wider so you can gain access for your EMTs to get in there and help, and then eventually cut the doors open and get the roof off and get your patient out.
Okay, there you have it. 25 years of training first responders to save lives at Crash Course. 2014 is in the history books. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of the instructors that traveled so far. Thank you to the students that traveled so far to learn how to save lives. And again, a big thank you to the National Center for Medical Readiness at Calamityville. You guys have put together such a fine facility. We're so happy to be associated with you. If you weren't here in 2014, get in here for 2015. Thanks for watching our videos.